Lesson 101. God's will for me is perfect happiness. Welcome to the Qigong support for A Course in Miracles students. I am Judith and you're at the Lucid Mind Center. How it works is this. First, we're going to read the lesson together and we're going to contemplate it while we are reading it. And after that, I'm going to suggest a Qigong class for you, which is suitable for this particular lesson. I have recorded many different Qigong classes which are treating specific topics of A Course in Miracles, and we're using the Qigong exercises and the breathing techniques and movement to help us understand and anchor the lesson better in our mind, body, emotional system. Let's begin. Lesson 101. God's will for me is perfect happiness. Today we will continue with the theme of happiness. This is a key idea in understanding what salvation means. You will believe it asks for suffering as penance for your sins. This is not so, yet you must think it is so while you believe that sin is real and that God's Son can sin. If sin is real, then punishment is just and cannot be escaped. Salvation then cannot be purchased but through suffering. If sin is real, then happiness must be illusion, for they cannot both be true. The sinful warrant only death and pain, and it is this they ask for they know it waits for them and it will seek them out and find them somewhere, sometime, in some form which evens the account they owe to God. They would escape him in their fear, and yet he will pursue and they cannot escape. If sin is real, salvation must be pain. Pain is the cost of sin, and suffering can never be escaped if sin is real. Salvation must be feared, for it will kill, but slowly taking everything away before it grants the welcome boon of death to victims who are little more than bones before salvation is appeased. Its wrath is boundless, merciless, but wholly just. So this is not what life is about. I mean, this is also in the beginning when I was reading some of those Course in Miracles lessons and texts, and I would read them out of context, I would find it rather scary, like this text is actually rather scary. But this is how we actually look at life. Until we rethink our situation, we are thinking, well, it cannot be that. It cannot possibly be that this is all there is to life. And through our history, lucky there is some sign points in our history where we're thinking, well, that person actually lived different. For example, in Christianity, our Savior Jesus, he lived differently. So if he lived differently, then there must be a different way. And I remember when I was a kid and I was going to Catholic churches, there's the crosses everywhere, the cross, and Jesus is always on the cross. And then I was thinking, so when are we going to take this Jesus down from that cross? Why are we celebrating the crucifixion? It's beyond me. And it's also still today when I go into a church and I see those crucifixions, and there's always this body on the cross, and there's also those images. I can't remember what they're called. There's like several images, 12 or 15 images, which are going around in a circle, which are reminding us of the suffering of Jesus. And I was thinking to myself, why are we celebrating this? I don't get it. I don't understand why are we always focused on that? This is not what the story was about. The story was about love the next, and as yourself, or learn to love yourself so you can love the next. Love your enemy. There are not really no enemies. The Old Testament was wrong with eye for an eye or ear for an ear, because if you do that, then the whole world is going to end up being blind and deaf. And this is what we are still celebrating. We're still celebrating the suffering and the crucifixion and the sin and the penance and all that. And finally having a way of looking differently at this and say, okay, well, listen, we don't know what we have been doing there. We were confused. Let's look at the light now. And this particular beginning of the text is basically describing the way we are looking at the world before we decide to change our mind. So who would seek out such savage punishment? Who would not flee salvation and attempt in every way he can to drown the voice which offers it to him? Because this is what the salvation we have learned, especially if we are Christians. This is the salvation, or Catholics. This is the salvation we learned. We learned that we are being punished for the sins, or Jesus has been punished for the sins that we have done, also us here in the future. It is completely upside down. So you are kind of fearing this God, and God is going to punish you for this, that, and the other. And if you do this, you're going to be punished and you're going to go to hell. This is kind of in our consciousness. This is how in our daily life. That's how we think that life is. And it's very, very difficult to let go of this idea. We have to kind of be very consistent and determined to let go of this thought system which has been brought to us over generations, over thousands of years. And then also from the other religions, the other influences, there is always punishment involved. And now finally the voice is coming through and says, no, you got that wrong. Salvation is not punishment. It's nothing to do with sin. It's got to do that you have to remember that you are the light and love and joy, and that you are here to shine this light. And luckily we have, for example, near-death experiences, which I was very, very interested in since I was 13, which are telling a different story. People who have a near-death experience, for example, through a heart attack, a drowning, or maybe been laying in a coma, and they glimpsed what is on the other side once you're without the body. When they return back, they always say, this is what we have been taught by our religious leaders. It's not like that. There is a being of light. There is an incredible feeling of freedom and love. And there is an incredible feeling of acceptance, and also of looking at life and realizing that this was just a game, kind of, and also realizing that we are all one. One thing which is really stuck with me in those stories, those people telling when they're there, is they're saying that when you are having this life review passing by, you not only experience what you have been feeling in that particular moment, you also feel what the other people have been feeling, which were present in that particular situation, as if you were them. And also, you not only were feeling what they were feeling, you were also feeling the second level of people which were not even there. So if you had upset somebody and this person then went home and reacted in a negative way, you would also feel maybe the reaction of their children from the anger of the father, which you have angered. Also the other way around. So in the end of the day, whatever we are doing in this world, we are doing to ourselves, because we are all one. And from those out-of-body experience and near-death experiences, it is clear that seems to be the reality. So who would seek out such savage punishment? Who would not flee salvation and attempt in every way he can to drown the voice which offers this to him, this particular salvation which we have been offered, and other religions are still offering it today? Why would he try to listen and accept its offering when it's scary? If sin is real, its offering is death, and meted out in cruel form to match the vicious wishes in which sin is born. If sin is real, salvation has become your bitter enemy, the curse of God upon who you have crucified his son. And of course, if you believe that you have sinned and you believe that you're going to get punished for this sin you have done, then you must be afraid of death. You must be afraid of meeting your Creator, because then you're kind of hiding. Well, I've sinned, I have to hide, because once He finds out what I have done, then I'm going to get it. And it's not like that. You need the practice periods today. The exercises teach sin is not real. And all that you believe must come from sin will never happen, for it has no cause. Accept atonement with an open mind, which cherishes no lingering belief that you have made a devil of God's Son. There is no sin. We practice with this thought as often as we can today, because it is the basis for today's idea. God's will for you is perfect happiness, because there is no sin and suffering is causeless. Joy is just, and pain is but the sign you have misunderstood yourself. And this is a mass misunderstanding we have in this world. We have got 7 billion people on this world, and I don't know how many of them believe in sin, believe in punishment. I'd say that it's probably 99% of it. So how do we change that? We have to start with ourselves. Fear not the will of God, but turn to it in confidence that it will set you free from all the consequences sin has wrought in feverish imagination. Say, God's will for me is perfect happiness. There is no sin. It has no consequence. So should you start your practice periods and then attempt again to find the joy these thoughts will introduce into your mind. Give these 5 minutes gladly every hour to remove the heavy load you laid upon yourself with the insane belief that sin is real. And we are totally insane. And I am the first to admit this is what I still sometimes fall back into, where I still think, well, it's going to get you. Fate's going to get you. This is like Eastern religions. Fate is going to get you. So if you do this, fate will get you, and you're going to get punished. Still, after all studying this, after decades of dedicating my life to the truth, if you will, and still I fall into it. So it's not an easy task. That's why we need each other. We need each other to remind each other, you are on the wrong path. Look this way. Give these 5 minutes gladly to remove the heavy load you laid upon yourself with the insane belief that sin is real. Today, escape from madness. You are set on freedom's road, and know today's idea brings wings to speed you on, and hope to go still faster to the waiting goal of peace. That is our goal. Our goal is peace for ourselves, within ourselves, and the way we are looking at the world. And when we do this, when we look that way at life, we give other people permission to do the same. So our job is almost like being a little pioneer, like a one-man pioneer, walking through life and remembering that we are the light and seeing the light in others. I know I'm repeating myself, but really that is what we are here for. There is no sin. Remember this today and tell yourself as often as you can, and write it down. God's will for me is perfect happiness. This is the truth, because there is no sin. So I suggest now that you take a piece of paper and you write it with big letters on a piece of paper, and you say, God's will for me is perfect happiness. There is no sin. It has no consequences. You write that down, and then write also, this is the truth, because there is no sin. put it on a big A4 piece of paper, lay it where you're going to practice your Qigong class, and then begin your Qigong class, and then so you can glance at that piece of paper, and when I remind you in the class, remember your lesson, you can glance at your paper, and I will also remind you in the class to listen to your higher self, to listen to your higher consciousness, because the higher consciousness has got a message for you, which is going to explain this class to you, or this idea to you in a way which is going to be understandable to you, which is going to use words which you use in your everyday. Because sometimes we just don't understand those words in the beginning until it's clear to us. Once it's clear to us, once we have understood the concept, then we understand it. But as long as we haven't, as long as the concept is not clear, has not anchored itself, has not sunk into our human experience awareness, we cannot grasp it. We don't understand it. So therefore, write down these 3 phrases I have just said. I'm going to say them to you again. God's will for me is perfect happiness. There is no sin. It has no consequences. And this is the truth because there is no sin. Write those 3 phrases down on a big piece of paper and then lay them there when you start your Qigong class. Or if you're doing a different kind of meditation later on, you also lay that sentence there so you can glance at it and understand it, because it's about understanding its meaning. That is what we need. So as I have said, I have recorded many different Qigong classes. I have got a very beautiful one, which is about happiness, which is about 30 minutes. No, it's actually 40 minutes. So if you have got time for this one, do that now. And if not, I have got shorter classes where you can apply the lesson to. The Qigong will help you to anchor that lesson better, and we're going to understand your role here in this human experience. In Qigong, we learn that the body belongs to this nature, it belongs to earth, and that the mind belongs to the universe, to this universal intelligence. And the human experience is a kind of a union of the physical illusion, if you will, the physical appearance with a divine spark. And this is expressed in the yin-yang symbol. And our job is to bring this divine potential, this human potential, as a matter of fact, into this world. So we all remember that we are not a body, and we just have a body to use it to manifest things in this world. So this is the long class which I've been talking about. I think you should try. Here is a shorter class, and here you have got the list to all the different Qigong classes which I have designed for A Course in Miracles. Enjoy and let me know how it went for you.